For most people, pregnancy is a life-changing event. For one man, it becomes something far more disturbing. What begins as a medical impossibility soon descends into a mystery that challenges everything he believes about reality itself. Welcome to Nightmares in Small Doses. At first, I thought the morning sickness I'd been experiencing was just some kind of discomfort related to my last meal from the previous day or something like that. It was only a few months later, when I noticed that my belly was getting bigger, that I realized I was probably pregnant. The problem was that I was a man. I felt completely terrified. I couldn't understand how it was even possible. It literally wasn't biologically possible, and yet my belly kept growing like a round balloon with every passing month. It wasn't fat. I didn't have any sagging weight at all. My stomach looked like a balloon sticking straight outward, like a pregnant woman's. Besides, it was impossible to gain weight that quickly every single month. I had always been very skinny my entire life. Eating had never been something that interested me much. I only ate so I wouldn't die. Even while I was pregnant, it still wasn't something I enjoyed. But I was pregnant, so despite not liking it, from a certain month onward, I started having a much bigger appetite and ate 4 times more than before, even without taking much pleasure in it. What disturbed me the most was that sometimes I felt something inside my belly. Something alive. That was why I was certain I was pregnant. I had all the symptoms of pregnancy, and something alive was inside me. It was impossible to find more proof that this was really happening. The worst part was when I bought a pregnancy test, and after urinating on the test strip, it came back positive. I had already been sure, but with the test, there was absolutely no doubt left. It was really happening, and I couldn't believe it. I felt stressed all the time, not knowing what to do. I didn't want to go to the hospital. I was afraid of what they might do to me, or maybe I was afraid of what I might discover. Going to a doctor was out of the question, especially because I wasn't very interested in the attention this would attract. The first pregnant man. It would destroy the peaceful life I had worked so hard to preserve. That wasn't the only problem. This whole situation left me completely trapped, without knowing what to do. I didn't want anyone to find out, but at the same time I needed help to solve this situation, and finding a solution was becoming very difficult. I wore baggy clothes to hide the pregnancy whenever I went outside. Even so, I only left the house when it was absolutely necessary. I stopped working and started living off the savings I'd managed to put aside until then. They would eventually run out, but by that point, I would have solved this pregnancy problem, and it would become a problem for my future self. I lived in constant anxiety over the eventual birth of whatever was inside me. How was it going to come out? The most logical way would be through my stomach like a xenomorph in the movie Alien. That thought did not comfort me at all. Quite the opposite, it only made me even more stressed. There were still 2 months left before completing the traditional 9 months of pregnancy. Like I always said, it was a problem for my future self. 7 months into the pregnancy, and this was my life. Full of stress and confusion. In my head, I still couldn't understand how I was pregnant or how that had even been possible when I had been a man since the day I was born. That kept me awake every night. I didn't even want to think about what my life would be like once the baby was born. I didn't want to have children yet. I was going to have to raise a child alone without even knowing who the mother or father was. Talking about this felt so strange. I was, and still am, heterosexual, so I didn't even know how to think about or refer to the other parent of the child, if there even was one, because I'd started coming to the conclusion that I had somehow created this pregnancy myself in some bizarre way. I couldn't explain it. I was literally going insane just thinking about it, and that was when I decided to take action. I couldn't keep living like this anymore, trapped in the shadow of uncertainty over all of it. I had to find out how I'd gotten pregnant and what exactly was inside me. I had to think. There had to be something that had caused this bizarre pregnancy. Something out of the ordinary. But I couldn't remember anything. My life was too boring. Anything different from my daily routine rarely ever happened. Then I remembered something. I quickly grabbed my phone and opened the calendar app. I scrolled back through the months with my finger until I reached April 30th. There was an event marked there. James's birthday dinner, my best friend. It had been 7 months ago, exactly the same amount of time as my pregnancy. The pieces slowly started coming together in my head. Little by little, I began remembering that night. It had been a Friday, James's 30th birthday. He had wanted to have dinner with his closest friends, and of course I had been included. It had been a good dinner at a steakhouse in the city center. I was trying as hard as I could to remember every single detail. Every detail mattered. There had been 5 of us in total. We ordered several cuts of meat, sirloin, filet mignon, ribeye, and a few others whose names I don't remember. As I had said before, I barely ate much, and that day I hadn't eaten anything since lunch so I could have some appetite for dinner. There were always 1 or 2 members of the group who ate as if it were the last meal of their lives, which was why we had ordered so much meat. It had been a good dinner. The conversation flowed naturally, and we had all missed each other. We rarely all got together because of our daily routines and jobs, which always made things difficult. It was always good to see the guys again. Overall, the food had satisfied me quite a lot. We drank wine to go with the meal, and that was when the night truly began. By the end of dinner, the 5 of us were already slightly drunk, so we decided to go to a nightclub to continue the night, since the mood between us was lively and energetic. I couldn't remember which nightclub we had gone into. It was dark, with lights flashing in different places. It was packed with people dancing to remixes of popular songs. That was the kind of music I liked hearing whenever I entered a place like that, and because of that, alcoholic drinks kept flowing throughout the night. I remember getting extremely drunk. Drunk enough to dance along with the rest of the crowd, and I hated dancing. I didn't even know how to dance, but my body moved to the rhythm of the music. I didn't know how, but my body did all the work on its own, with plenty of help from the alcohol. Then I made eye contact with a brunette woman. She stared directly into my eyes with a feline, seductive gaze. A small, sensual smile rested on her lips. Her stare was hypnotizing. My eyes couldn't pull away from hers. After a while like that, she slowly started walking away while looking back at me in a tempting manner. I began following her, completely hypnotized. And then, I couldn't remember anything else. Fuck. I needed to know what had happened afterward. I was certain that something had happened from that moment on. Something sinister. I tried to remember, but I couldn't recall anything. Nothing. From that point onward, there was only emptiness. 7 months had already passed, which made it even harder to remember. I had to find a way to figure out what had happened. I had this feeling that something had happened there, something dark that had left me in this condition. After seeing that I was pregnant despite being a man, I was ready to believe anything could have caused this. I messaged the 4 friends who had gone to the dinner and nightclub with me, and none of them remembered much either. Honestly, the 5 of us had been extremely drunk, so it didn't surprise me. But they did remember me following a woman before disappearing for the rest of the night. I never went back to them afterward. Fucking alcohol. Whenever I drank too much, there were always things I could never remember afterward. In this case, there was a huge portion of the night that I couldn't recall. The most important part of all. The answer to all my questions was tied to that woman and whatever had happened afterward. I pushed myself to try to remember something, but nothing came back. Nothing at all. It was making me frustrated and even anxious, so close and yet still so far away. I paced back and forth thinking about what to do. I had already given up on trying to remember naturally. It was pointless. No matter how hard I tried, I truly couldn't recall anything after that moment. So I had to find a way to access my own memory and revisit the deep memories stored somewhere inside my brain. There had to be something buried so deep that I simply couldn't reach it. If I had been alive and awake, then there had to be something inside my head about what happened after I followed that mysterious woman. There had to be, and I refused to give up until I found a way to access the memories I wanted. I searched the internet for ways that could help me access difficult-to-recover memories, and the one that seemed best to me was hypnotic regression. It consisted of relaxing the body and mind and entering a deep state of concentration, of intense focus, in order to recall memories that did not easily come to the surface of consciousness. To find the memories I wanted, I had to focus on an image connected to the memory I was trying to access, and I knew exactly what I needed to think about. There was no time to waste. I had to find out how my life had been turned completely upside down. I grabbed my wireless headphones and placed them over my ears. Then I opened YouTube and played a video with calm, relaxing music. I closed my eyes. Everything was black. I sat there quietly and took a deep breath. Soon after, in the middle of the immense darkness I saw, the image of the seductive woman I had followed in the nightclub appeared. That image was going to lead me to the memories I needed. I focused on it. I thought about nothing else. With every passing second, I felt my consciousness abandoning reality and entering the image until the memories I wanted began appearing right in front of me. The memories began unfolding before my eyes like a movie, and it felt as though I were sitting in that chair from A Clockwork Orange, being forced to watch whether I wanted to or not. I was in a hypnotic state in which I could only see that. I couldn't look at anything else or return to reality. It was as if I were being forced to watch it, and that was exactly what I wanted. The memories started from the exact moment I could still remember. Me following the sensual and mysterious woman through a sea of people dancing inside the nightclub. Around me, countless people danced, but I only saw the mysterious woman ahead of me, and I kept moving toward her. She slowly walked away while staring at me with those seductive eyes that attracted, that tempted, and I remained completely focused on her, unable to look at anything else. The woman kept looking back at me as she walked away. She left the nightclub, and I followed her. I had no idea where I was going, but it didn't matter. Not a single thought crossed my mind. I only followed her, completely hypnotized like a zombie. We wandered aimlessly through the streets. She regularly looked back at me with that seductive smile, and I continued following her faithfully. Eventually, we entered a strange, sinister, shadowy building. There was no specific way I could describe it. It seemed hidden beneath that sinister darkness. I didn't know whether it was the effect of the alcohol on my vision, or if the place truly looked like that. And I had no idea where I was, where she was leading me. She gently took my hand. I felt a rough sensation in her touch. She guided me toward a door. I didn't know whether it belonged to an apartment or not, but I did know that the moment she opened it, what I saw inside was not what I had expected. It was a room, but it was no ordinary room. It was the most satanic thing I had ever seen in my entire life. I had never even seen anything like it in movies. There was a massive pentagram drawn on the floor with chalk. Candles were scattered across the ground, their wax red in color. It looked like blood melting from the candles. A painting of a goat's face with vibrant yellow eyes hung on the wall. It seemed to stare at me from every angle. Animal skulls were scattered around the room. Strange symbols were drawn on the walls in red, looking like dried blood. The air smelled intensely of wax and burned herbs. She guided me to the center of the pentagram. I stood still. She undressed completely, letting her clothes fall onto the floor. Then she undressed me as well, dropping my clothes beside hers. We both stood naked, face to face. Her naked body was covered in tattoos and marks that looked very similar to the symbols drawn throughout the room. She laid me down on the floor as though I were a lifeless mannequin. She sat on top of my stomach. Grabbing my face, she forced my mouth open and brought her lips close to mine. A thick black saliva dripped from her mouth into mine. It all slid into my mouth. I swallowed. Not a single expression or emotion crossed my face. The mysterious woman scratched her own body with her nails until she cut herself and began to bleed. With blood on her fingers, she started drawing a symbol I did not recognize across my stomach. It burned like acid. Then everything went black. After that, I woke up in the middle of the street, still drunk but fully dressed, with no idea how I had ended up there. I remembered nothing except the nightclub, and that had happened during the night. Now dawn was breaking. I slowly staggered my way home. When I finally got there, I collapsed onto my bed and fell asleep, still fully clothed. A few hours later, I woke up with a massive hangover. It felt as though I had been run over by a truck. I suddenly snapped awake. I was back in the real world. I was no longer hypnotized, deep inside my mind, watching the hidden memories. My hands trembled. I didn't want to believe what I had seen. The worst part was that I felt even more frightened and horrified by whatever was inside me. I was even more angry at myself for not having been able to remember any of it before. I had been impregnated by something satanic. I had the devil's seed inside me. I felt like vomiting, but there was nothing in my stomach. The mysterious woman had never even opened her mouth to speak a single time. I didn't even know what her voice sounded like. Ever since I first saw her, I hadn't spoken a word to her either. From the moment our eyes met, I had become completely hypnotized. I had basically become her slave. It had truly been such a bizarre situation that I still couldn't believe it had really happened. But that was the problem. No matter how hard it was to believe, it really had happened. I panicked, not knowing what to do. I didn't want to keep living like this. And what was I even supposed to do when this thing was born? I didn't even know what could come out of me. Immediately, I rushed to my laptop and got to work, investigating Satanism, the occult, and all those dark subjects. My heart pounded faster and faster. I spent hours reading everything I could find about those topics until I came across something I didn't want to believe. A prophecy. A very ancient prophecy mentioned in several documents about Satanism. The one who bears no womb, who could never give life, shall carry the soulless heir. Man shall become mother, and the birth shall herald the collapse of heaven. My blood ran cold. I closed the laptop. Everything made sense in a sickening way. I felt horrible. I had never believed in the occult, heaven, hell, or any of those things. Now I believed in all of it. And I believed that I was going to become the vessel of something macabre and terrible. Something that would bring an end to everything. And I could not allow that. In front of me are a utility knife, rubbing alcohol, cotton, bandages, gauze, and adhesive tape. What I'm about to do terrifies me, but it has to be done. I feel so nervous that I have been drinking vodka moderately to calm myself down. I'm so horrified that I'm afraid of what I'm about to do, but it has to be done, whether I want to or not. I am going to remove whatever is inside me and kill it. I am going to cut open my stomach and remove the demonic offspring I have carried for the past 7 months. I am going to end this nightmare once and for all. I have to do it myself, alone. If I talk about this with anyone, I risk nobody believing me and whatever is inside me being born. I cannot allow that, even if it costs me my life. I do not want to die. At least that is not my intention. I already have 911 ready on my phone so I can call them as soon as I finish writing this and seconds before performing this surgery on myself. I have never done anything like this before, so I have to call them anyway to save me in case I make a mistake, which honestly is the most likely thing to happen. But before they arrive, I have to remove whatever is inside me. I have to be fast, otherwise I risk them saving it. I promise here and now that if I survive this madness I am about to commit, I will find that woman in that satanic room. What will I do? I still do not fully know, but it will not be anything good. I will have to burn everything to the ground. I promise you that. I am writing this so people know the truth about what really happened. You will probably see things in the news or on the internet about this, and that is exactly why I am writing this. So you will not be deceived. I am also writing this so you stay alert to what is out there. There are evil forces capable of destroying your lives. I'm going to stop here. I have to hurry. I have a delivery to perform. Thank you for joining me for another dose of nightmares. If you enjoyed the story, be sure to subscribe and leave a like, and let me know your thoughts in the comments. If you'd like even more stories to keep you awake at night, consider joining my Patreon, where you can read and listen to exclusive nightmares you won't find anywhere else. Until next time, happy nightmares.